Good morning. So this assignment is similar to the previous one, where you will be finding the end behavior, the y-intercept and x-intercepts of the function, then graphing the function based on that information. The only difference here is this time you will be looking for the repeated zeros. Now remember, with repeated zeros, if they're odd, they sort of flatten out, but they still go through the x-intercept. If they are even, like squared, how I describe it, they bounce off. So they don't change the side they're on. They just sort of touch the x-axis, then go back on the same side of the x-axis. Okay, so I'm gonna work through this example. So first, let's see what we have here. It says g of x equals x plus 5 times x plus 2 squared times x minus 2 squared. X minus 2 cubed. All right? So first we find the end behavior. So to find the end behavior, remember we want that lead term. So first, to find the degree, we just say, okay, how many x's would we multiply together to get our degree? So there's one x here, there's actually 2 here, right? X squared, x times x. There's 3 here because it's cubed. So you just count, that's 3, 5, 6, right? The highest exponent would be x to the 6th power. So that would be an even number. Then to find if it's positive or negative, typically you just look in front, the coefficient for the entire factored function, and there's none here. That means it's 1. That's positive. So it's even and positive. And if we recall, even and positive functions means, like a parabola, both of the ends go up. So what I like to do is I always graph out the end behavior first, right? Since that sort of like shows the overall character of the function, that's a good place. So just so that I already have sort of an idea of what the graph will look like. Okay, so I know, okay, both ends are up. Now let's find the y-intercept. So for the y-intercept, I multiply the numbers together. So if there's any number in front, like a -2 or -1 or 3 in front, I include that. But right here, there's none, so I just put 1. That's the number in front. And I say, okay, it's 5 in the first factor. It's 2 squared for the second factor. Oh. 2 squared for the second factor. And then -2 cubed. Again, the y-intercept is defined by the constant term, so it's multiplying all the numbers together will give you that value. All right, so that's 5 times 4 times -8, evaluating some of that. And that's actually, let's see, 20 times -8 is -160, right? We're just going to approximate that on the graph. For the x-intercepts, again, we set each one to 0. So we set each factor to 0, x plus 5 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0, and x minus 2 equals 0. We just solve for x, and then we're going to see if there's an repeated 0. So x equals -5. Variables are usually lowercase. X equals -2, and x equals 2. Okay, then we see, are any of these repeated zeros? Well, this is a repeated 0, repeats twice. X equals -2, so -2 repeats twice. Is that right? Yeah. And then x equals 2 repeats 3 times. Okay. So at -2, it's going to, right, sort of bounce off that point. At 2, it's going to sort of flatten out, but keep on going in the same direction. All right. So now I'm going to mark all my intercepts. So actually it's negative. The y-intercept is negative 160. So I put that there. 160, negative 160 for the y-intercept. Then my x-intercepts are at 5. Notice the scale is not the same on the x and y. That's all right. Negative 2 and 2. All right, so here we have negative 5. Negative 2 and 2. So we just mark each one. And then 2. Okay, and so I'm going to start up here in the positive and just make sure, try to go through each of the each of the intercepts and make sure we have the correct behavior. So right up here, start up here. Okay, it goes through normally through negative 5 since that doesn't repeat. Okay, then at negative 2, again, it's even repeating, so it just goes like this. The word is even multiplicity. How many times does it multiply together? And that means it does go properly through negative 160. And here it sort of flattens out because it's odd multiplicity is the word we use. And it goes back up. And there's our graph, right? So we go through, and I know I usually don't draw it quite right. It should go right through 2, but again, as long as it demonstrates all the correct behavior, notice it goes straight through negative 5, so it bounces off negative 2, goes to y equals negative 160, flattens out at 2 because of the repeated 0, and both ends go up. All right, so that's how we graph out this function, applying all the information we have over here. All right, so you have 4 different functions to find the information for and graph. Notice that they all have repeated zeros, so please keep that in mind. All right, so just work through that. If you have any questions, please ask. Attend tutoring if you have any questions, and just try your best. All right, have a very good rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time.